me the cereal kids are crazy for, Cthulhu's. Start your morning madness with a bowl of morning happiness.
Cthulhu sale is ongoing now. You will take part. Save up to 33% off gem bundles. You will take part.
Crazy crispity, crazy crunchity, crazy
Select chests up to 50% off. You will take part. Boosters, avatars, wards, and more up to 50% off. You will take part. Party up with up to 3 times favor. Worshippers and XP. You will take part. This is your duty.
Crazy Cthulhu-y. Cthulhu. Surgeon General's warning, Cthulhu's are not of this world and should not be ingested by children or adults over the age of 80. Gems are not included as a surprise because Cthulhu's are not real. Reality is meaningless, time is a construct. They not all hope when you ingest Cthulhu's. Use as directed, part of balanced breakfast. For the crispity, crunchity, crazy crunch, get cuckoo with Cthulhu.
You will take part.
Of a balanced breakfast.
Can we take a commercial break?
Hey there, SMITE fans, Aggro here. Look, every single year, the SPL just keeps getting better. Season 7 was incredible, and in Season 8, I'm sure our players are going to take their game to the next level. But in order to do that, they're going to need the best gear they can get their hands on. And that's why I'm so excited to announce the title sponsor for Season 8 of the SPL is Alienware. Yeah, that Alienware. Our players are getting the best of the best in computer gaming. These Alienware Aurora Ryzen Edition PC setups are insane. Not only will these be the PCs that the players will compete on once we are in studio, but Alienware is also providing one for each player at their home setup to make sure their practice is as good as possible. Now let's get down to brass tacks. The specs on these Alienware Aurora Ryzen Edition desktops are amazing. An AMD Ryzen 9 16-core processor.
That's a lot of cores.
That's plenty of processing power.
That's a lot of cores. Plenty of cores.
If you want to stream, this is the way to go.
I know a lot about my cores, so. I mean, Pilates, right?
64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM.
What? Is that true?
That is true.
I mean, this thing has 64 gigs of DDR4 RAM.
Which you can do literally anything with.
Literally anything.
I've never had more than 16 gigs.
That's quadruple the amount I have at home.
And one of the hottest commodities in the PC world, an NVIDIA GeForce 3090 graphics card.
Insane how much better this is than what I have.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course.
Content's gonna look good.
What's the point of all the power if you can't see it? Players will also be using the Alienware 25-inch 240Hz monitors.
Man, when I load into scrims with this bad boy, I'm gonna feed so hard. And it's gonna be in perfect picture quality.
We are so excited to be partnering with Alienware for Season 8 of the SMITE Pro League. And the best part is, this VIP treatment, it's not just for the pros. You too can get the best possible SMITE experience. Just go to smitegame.com/Alienware and use code SMITEAW to get special discounts on some of Alienware's best products. Thanks again to Alienware. Make sure you're following them on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Alienware on both platforms. And you can join their community at alienwarearena.com.
Good afternoon, SMITE fans, and welcome for Week 8, Day 4 of the SMITE Pro League. And it's been a really fun Split 2 regular season so far, but of course, all of the gameplay previews that we've had a chance to see, even some of those in-studio sets, big thanks to our primary sponsor of the SMITE Season 8 Pro League, and that's going to be Alienware, our title sponsor. And of course, everything that the pros are playing on is all thanks to them. So you can head on over to smitegame.com/Alienware. Make sure to plug code SMITEAW to pick up some primary gear for your own at-home setup for your viewing pleasure or ultimate gaming pleasure. If the commercial didn't have you guys sold enough as is, 240 hertz monitors make a huge difference in the world of gaming and for the world of viewing pleasure. So again, thank you so much to Alienware. You can also join their global community by heading on over to alienwarearena.com, as well as make sure to follow their socials on Instagram and Twitter. That's going to be at Alienware. And thank you so much again to Alienware for being the premier title sponsor here for the SMITE Pro League in Season 8. But of course, like I mentioned, this is the final week, the final showdown. Joining me for this first set of the day is going to be Mifflin. And Mifflin, pretty exciting time so far throughout Split 2.
It's just been great. I mean, the competition in general has been so wild. I mean, how many splits or previous seasons has there been just one team kind of riding at the top? Okay, well, I guess you could say the Olympus Bowl's kind of been doing that. But it's been very competitive here, and that's my main point. I've been absolutely loving every single second of it, and this is what we've been working up to recently, the playoffs coming up next week. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, with those playoffs right around the corner here, these teams really just trying to solidify those last couple of points in the standings wherever they can find them. And of course, for our starting set of today, we've got the Atlantis Leviathans, and granted, they're still trying to solidify that third place position, I believe. And heading on over into the schedule for this week, it's not just going to be the Leviathans that are the only team playing here today. Have to remember they're up against the Solar Scarabs, and while the Scarabs are no longer in contention for the Split 2 playoffs, it's still going to be a matchup that I think can help prepare them for Split 3. And not only that, but they have a chance to play spoiler, because I do believe that the Atlantis Leviathans, Mifflin, they're trying to solidify a 2-0 in this set.
Yeah, the Scarabs can no longer go to playoffs, but they can certainly ruin another team's odds at the playoffs, and the Atlantis Leviathans looking to make sure that doesn't happen to them. A little bit later today, J Dragons versus the Tartarus Titans, and if you guys at home missed it, if you're not following the Twitter, a little update here for you. On Monday, we're going to be playing that set that we missed earlier this week.
Yes, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern as well on the SMITE game channel, of course. And as far as the standings are concerned, as you guys could tell, everything fairly close as far as that top end is concerned. But again, friendly reminder, Warriors versus Kings still going to be taking place. There was just a little delay in the games from yesterday. So instead, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, all the action is going to be right here in the SMITE game channel, of course. I mean, I don't know where else you'd want to watch your SMITE game Pro League content, personally speaking.
I'd be watching on the Hazer tailgate.
all right, Mifflin, a little toxic there to you know the.
Who's
the
that
league.
Toxic to? What?
That's toxic to the production team, man. They put on such a good show
you
for the
still get
main
to see
channel.
it.
For the main
Maybe
channel.
it's toxic to the casters.
You don't want to hang out with SMITE game chat?
Yeah, I love SMITE game chat, and it's not just because I owe them a lot of money.
That's fair enough. I don't know if you're necessarily obligated to say that, but jokes aside here, Mifflin, like I mentioned, this first matchup with the Leviathans versus the Solar Scarabs. Leviathans, they've looked like one heck of a powerhouse team. A lot of star power really on the rise here, and I think a lot of it also beginning with that duo lane.
Yeah, Rongyu in particular, I'd have to say, man, this guy's support is next level, especially when he's playing gods like the Horus. He's one of the few people that I like actually seeing play Horus. I'm speaking to you, ranked players, casual players, and just about everyone else in the league.
Jake is crying in the horizon.
Look, Jake's good, okay? Jake's real good, but he's not Rongyu Horus, okay? He might be able to contend with the Rongyu Ymir, because they're both two of the best Ymir players that I think I've ever seen. But
genetics,
as far as
sad.
Stop it. Let me do my thing, okay? Other support players, I'm sorry. I'll talk about you when it's your turn. For now, we're talking about the facilitator for the Atlantis Leviathans, Ronnie Gyu, and he's nuts.
You know, I gotta mess with you a little bit, Mifflin, but I'm right there behind you personally. I think Rongyu has definitely been a fantastic. Oh, Ronnie Gyu, you're right. Ronnie Gyu has been a fantastic member for this Leviathan squad. I mean, frontline facilitator to a T. But the most impressive part, I think, is how he's able to maintain both the initiation side of things as well as the peel-heavy centric gameplay focus as well. That's not an easy feat. It requires, I think, a lot of attention, especially when you're looking at the minimap. And as far as inbound is concerned here today, we know for a fact that Ronnie Gyu, he loves his Umoja, and he certainly loves playing the Fafnir as well. And I think that, all things considered, Mifflin, Rongyu, certainly a strong contender for a top support.
I think so, but as you highlight, does have some a little bit of competition here inside of Inbound on the other side. And Inbound has made some wide steps as far as his gameplay is concerned between both seasons so far. So maybe we go into that a little bit later, but get excited for it.
Hey, I mean, man of the hour for a reason. We've actually got Ronnie Gu standing by here with us today for the pregame interview. Vrongyu, is it Vrongyu or Ronnie Gu? I mean, which would you prefer for today? We talked about this a little bit last night, but you know.
I think Rong is fine. Ronnie Gu, it's a little different. I don't complain.
No complaints. Hey, I mean, but you've got to be used to taking a lot of hits personally. I mean, being the support player for the Leviathans, I can only imagine what kind of dependency these guys place on you.
Yeah, I mean, peeling for Shinto, peeling for Sabma, it's a lot of work, to be honest. But, Panerom helps, Jarkor helps, and it's fun to play with it, boys, so it's okay.
And as far as you guys are concerned, I mean, you know that you're locked in for the playoffs. Seeding is still, pretty much solidified. But as far as those playoffs specifically are concerned, what are or who are some of the teams that you guys really have your eyes on right now?
Probably the Bolts, just because they beat us in the past two playoffs, I think. And yeah, just hopefully this time we made to finals at least.
Well, it should be an interesting time for sure, but as for right now, I'm going to wish you the best of luck in your set up against the Solar Scarabs, and thank you so much, Vrongyu, for joining us on the pregame interview.
Thank you.
Gotta have a little bit of fun from time to time here, Mifflin. Vrongyu, as you can tell, always a member, is in high spirits. There's something about coming from a Hispanic family, and then your mom only speaking Spanish as you're growing up your entire life, and then for whatever reason, when I read Spanish words, it just happens to naturally apply an accent. I try to avoid it from time to time, just to appease people, but sadly, it is just a side effect of coming from a bilingual family.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and move away from that. Instead, we can move towards Inbound, someone that you could tell earlier on I was hankering to get speaking about. And Inbound is a player that has been improving a ton throughout the year, the last couple of years, in fact. You did bring up the emoji gameplay recently, and I think it is apt that we start with this because it is a contested pick between both of these players, Vrongyu and Inbound, but only one of them's got a greater than 10% win rate on that god. Inbound struggling a little bit on this pick, but he doesn't stray away.
Oh, I was going to say, we do also tend to just see a lot of aggressive picks in general from Inbound, and I think as of late, he's definitely been straying a little bit more outside of just the pure aggression type of gods, like the Fenrir, like the Hercules, but here today up against the Leviathans, Mifflin, do you think that Inbound is going to remain being a focal point? Because so many teams have a tendency, I think, to just ban a lot of Inbound's preferred picks, and with the way that the Solar Scarabs have been looking with the additions of Stort and Scream, it could be worth noting that trying to put that dual lane into an awkward position might be best for the Leviathans.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely that we see something like a Hercules ban. Yamoja might get banned out. We might also see the Leviathans try and prioritize that pretty highly in their pick order. If I had to guess which direction Inbound is going today, I think it's pretty likely we see something like the Fafnir or even potentially that Hercules if he is looking to get aggressive. But it's hard to say. Inbound has a pretty large god pool, all things considered.
How disruptive do you think it would be for the Leviathans as well if Inbound is just looking to really settle in for that aggressive playstyle yet again? Because you have to remember, Inbound, as an aggressive player, Leviathans are aware of this, but Leviathans are also a team, I think, and from what we have seen out of them so far here in Split 2, certainly prone to adapting relatively quick.
Yeah, I think if Inbound gets over-aggressive, it's pretty likely that he gets punished, right? Especially considering that the Leviathans had all of last year under the moniker Team Sanguine to practice as that counter-puncher type style, so maybe Inbound has to rein it in a little bit here, but very recently, I think the Leviathans have kind of shifted their own style a little bit more so towards that early game aggression, especially with Zapman joining the team. The Z-Man likes to jump in aggressively. That's something we've all known since Season 0, like launch tournament. Dude's been jumping on waves. I think he's going to do it here today.
I gotta say, though, I've been relatively impressed with the way that a lot of the mid to late game shot calling has been going for the Solar Scarabs. I think that's part of the reason why we've been seeing this team start to go a little bit more hand in hand with some of the top end of the league. And Mifflin, heading into picks and bans for game number 1 here today. You were mentioning the Fafnir. We talk a lot about this Yamoja, but do you think that with the Leviathans in that first pick position, they're going to try to focus a little bit more on locking in a god for Shinto or beneath them? Because Osiris, Gilgamesh, Raijin, they're all picks that the Leviathans have tons of success with. And that Raijin especially, I think, is something that it probably shouldn't make it through this game.
No, I agree. Raijin is a pick that Shinto could absolutely dominate the battlegrounds with, but if I'm going to go by history at all here, the Leviathans are a team that tend to kind of cater to Shinto a little bit, not just in P's and B's, but in the game itself. They make sure that he is completely comfortable. So I think to answer your question, you'd have to ask Shinto whether or not there's something he actually wants today in particular. If Shinto wants Hades, he's getting Hades. If Shinto wants Persephone or even Morgan Le Fay, or if they really want to push it and get him Tiamat, I'm sure the Leviathans could kind of construe bans in such a way that it does allow him to play that. But so far, the only mid laner banned out is Yanis, and well, that's targeted towards Baronic.
And Baronic has definitely looked incredibly strong whenever he's had a chance to get the Giannis, largely because of the fact that he's had a couple of highlight clip-worthy moments, I think, with his utilization of the portals. He is definitely a Giannis player that loves trying to help his teammates in and out of sticky positions. And, well, as far as the Solar Scarabs are concerned, it's going to be all focused towards the Guardian tree currently. And Fenrir now going to be the final ban here for the Leviathans, but Raijin still up for grabs. Gilgamesh still up for grabs. And the same could be said for Osiris here, Mifflin. However, I think that for the Leviathans, they've got to essentially decide between the potential of Solar Scarabs getting both Osiris and Gilgamesh, or if they just feel it like a Raijin is definitely worth it.
Yeah, there are 3 priority mages still available: Raijin, Morgan Le Fay, and Persephone. So I think that you're right to say that the Leviathans have a decision to make here on whether or not they want to allow both of those warriors through, and this is the best decision I think they could have made, picking at least one of them, because no way Solar Scarabs taking 3 mages, and well, they're not really capable of doing so with only 2 picks available in that second slot. But now the Scarabs are going to get the pick of the litter. They can go any way they want with their mid-mage and still round it out with the warrior. But Gilgamesh still available. Could be the Leviathans taking both.
Possibly. It all depends on how the Leviathans feel about this Osiris when paired alongside of the Gilgamesh. It does introduce a lot of heavy dive potential, that's for sure. And even with that Odin cage, I don't think that Osiris and Gilgamesh are really all that impacted by the Odin, so to say. I mean, they both have very strong escapes and even initiation points into the ring if they so desire. Winds of Shamash, I think, an excellent tool at combating a lot of that Odin pressure. And the Izanami, a really early lock-in pick here for Zapman. Now, as far as Izza is concerned, Mifflin, why do you think Zap is prioritizing her over everything else? Because we see so much Heim from him as well.
I think it's 100% got to do with lane pressure. In Smite Season 8, it feels like lane pressure is the name of the game. If you control mid push or duo push, you could have a complete opening towards the red buff. You control the neutral camps. You can start invading these purples. And what better god to establish pressure as a singular pick than the only one in the game that is hitting every single minion with every single auto attack. Piercing autos all the time feels pretty good inside of the long, but that is leaving all the mages still available. Leviathan's likely going to be needing a couple more bans towards Shinto.
And it seems as though the Solar Scarabs, they've got a couple of strong assets, I think, for following up inside of that Odin cage. I like the Terra because she's going to be able to cover that entire area of the cage with a possible root opportunity after the fact. And Raijin, of course, has best of both worlds. Got the range from the Taiko drums, also has the up-close and personal damage from the Percussive Storm, and some other features. So as far as this top 3 out of the Leviathans is concerned, Mifflin, what do you think is the overall mindset for this type of draft?
Assuming that it's Osiris jungle, then it's likely going to be early game aggression, trying to isolate whoever is immobile on the side of the Solar Scarabs. But having not seen the support or the solo, or no, solo is locked in, the jungler. No, wait, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the mid right here. Having not seen the mid for Shinto, I think that it is a little bit harder to figure out what it is they're trying to do.
Who's to say it's not Izanami?
Well, I'm here to say that. Me, the analyst, is saying that it is pretty unlikely that it's Izanami mid. Once we start to see that mid laner locked in, whether or not it's going to be a late game hypercarry or something that can get aggressive in the early game, that's really we're going to start to figure out where the Leviathans are trying to go with this draft. Because of right now, Cerberus can act as a solo agent inside of the short lane. Osiris is going to be able to find pressure regardless. Mannequin Scepter plus Stone Cutting Sword kind of affords you that in the build itself. And then Izanami, obviously, looking to establish pressure as well. So off of just the Hunter and Jungle pick, It's an invade style composition.
Well, Persephone, it could be looked at, but it's going to be the Merlin almost immediately as a response here for the Leviathans. Really like this pick, though, because as far as frontline is concerned, Merlin almost always noted as one of the best mages, I think, for kind of just chunking through and just having so much objective damage as well. So I think the Leviathans are certainly looking strong as far as trying to utilize some of that early game pressure, Mifflin, and essentially just build it into more of the objective team fight gameplay. I like their counter initiation measures as well to deal with this Terra and Odin inside of the Odin cages, but I'm definitely excited to see what goes down in this dual lane, because Zapman, Stuart, it almost feels like Stuart is kind of Zapman's mentee, in all honesty. I think that Stuart has a lot of respect for Zapman. He's been very open about that as well, and to see him with the Heim against Izanami, well, some might regard it as a bit of a counter matchup because Heim does have that vision thanks to the way that his kit works. So Izanami not necessarily the safest in terms of looking for that aggressive assassin invis style of play off of her 3. So Zap might have to be a little bit more careful here. Heim's definitely a hard hitter.
Yeah, Heim can chase you down, but if Izanami pulls ahead whatsoever, she's got a incredibly strong stim, burst damage inside of the ultimate. It looks to me like the Leviathans are trying to send a message through this dual lane. Surket and Izanami together is a ton of kill pressure. I mean, Surket ultimate immediately to Iza ultimate, likely doing upwards of 50% of your HP bar at level 5. I think it's a hard-fought journey now for the Solar Scarabs, who throw a little bit of a curveball with their last pick. Horus locked in. Does that mean we're going to see a Odin jungle Terra solo Horus support? I think that might make the most sense to me.
Could be a Terra jungle for Scream. I don't think
that.
it's outside the world of possibility. I think Scream is definitely a pioneer of the Terra jungle lifestyle. I think the only person I've ever seen really rocking that with them would be like Lasbra, but Terra, she can work in the jungle. And I know it sounds ridiculous, Mifflin, but I really don't think that it's impossible. Plus, Odin just feels a little awkward for what it's worth inside of the jungle position.
Odin feels more awkward in the jungle than Terra jungle.
Yes.
You're going to say that to my face right now on this desk. Now. Get the camera back on Taco, because she is clearly out of her mind. Odin has history in the jungle, and you just listed the only 2 players on the planet to have ever played Terra, and you're going to look me in my eyes and tell me that Odin's more awkward? Chat, I am so sorry that Taco is so out of pocket at this point. But here's the thing, Taco, about how you said Terra can work in the jungle. Every god can work in the jungle because they're all capable of dealing damage to jungle camps. I'm tilted. I'm so tilted right now.
Mifflin's upset. Tell me how you really feel.
I did. I literally just did.
What are you going to do if it winds up being Scream with Terra jungle?
I'm going to call it a Leviathan's dub immediately.
Fair enough as is, but I guess getting back to a little bit more of the specifics, though, and again, it's not a guarantee by any means that it's Terra jungle.
I should hope so.
I just think that between Terra and Odin, relatively flexible, but seeing that Horus lock in, and kind of have a hunch that this might wind up for inbound. We got a chance to witness Ronyu on the Surket support once already, and Surket seeming like an incredibly strong pick here for the Leviathans in general, because she has so much harass potential against the likes of a Horus, Terra, and Raijin.
And it just fits Rongyu's playstyle so well, Taco. I mean, this guy might just be single-handedly the most annoying player in the SPL. He'll sit inside of ambush in the middle of their mid lane and just wait for anyone to walk within 40 units of him, come out of the stealth, blink on you, and then burn your beads. And that's his whole plan. Then he's going to walk back to his tier 1 tower giggling. I think this god really does fit his style, and it fits this composition.
Well, it'll be an exciting one for sure between the Atlantis Leviathans and the Solar Scarabs as we head into game number 1 with J-Mac Tucker and Aggro take all the action.
Let's see where all this nonsensical does lie, and it is gonna be the Terra jungle coming out from Scream. We already know where Mifflin's hands are lying with this one. He's calling this a Leviathan's dub, but Aggro, we'll have to see where this one actually lies through, and luckily we have Doug to bring us all the action. And
unreal.
You know, I'm gonna agree with Mifflin here. Terra jungle is probably even more awkward than the Odin would be in this instance, because her level 1 is not that great. Her level 2 is okay. In fact, her level 2's gotten a little bit better. I've actually been seeing a lot of tech that I actually found out about just recently, that as she's dashing, she can collapse the walls in, gets the stun, and breaks the wall for a ton of extra damage. So level 2 is going to be crazy, but level 1 Terra is not so hot.
No, and here's the problem with Terra jungle. Obviously her monolith doesn't clear, and it's an 18-second cooldown. You've also got Screaming, if that sickle had landed, he would have probably gotten a little bit in trouble there. Your 1 is a 15-second cooldown, and your 2 is a 15-second cooldown. What you need as a jungler is the ability to clear quickly, and he just doesn't have that on that pick, and that's the problem. Terra's good, but can't clear the jungle, and that's like the #1 thing you've got to do.
And the extremely long cooldowns certainly do not help that. Damage value is going to be a little bit low. You're going to require some cooldown if you want to be able to make that work out for you. So we'll see how it all pans out as the game goes through. So Inbound had a really nice double knockup against Zapman and Rongyu, kept Stewart alive there. Otherwise, that may have been a first blood going the way of Zapman. But Rongyu pulling out the Serket support again. He played it in his 3rd game against the Bolts. And when they had this Odin locked in, I was looking through. We saw the Cerberus, we saw the Osiris, and I was thinking, what supports are left that can get out of cage? Well, Fafnir got banned away. Well, Rongyu did play the Serket, so I was really excited to see that he got to bring it back out for this game.
He looked really good on it in that Bolt set, so I'm not surprised to see him go back to it. A little surprised in the sense that this might be a pick that you don't want to telegraph to the rest of the league right before playoffs that you value, particularly up against maybe Terra. Maybe that's I believe that Jake played the Terra in that game, so maybe that's a trend we're starting to see develop for Leviathans right before a big event. But either way, Rongyu's got a big enough god pool that it's not going to be an easy task prepping for this Leviathans team anymore. I think that they've shown me enough to know that they can adjust the play style a little bit. I still, when it comes down to playoffs and all that time, we're always going to talk about how clutch this team can be, but we'll see. I'm expecting big things.
And speaking with playoffs, Leviathans do still need to get this win here over the Scarabs. They can't just lollygag around and go, okay, whatever, it's just a set we get to play. Scarabs can't make it in here, but as they talked about earlier on the desk, and as Mifflin pointed out more specifically, they still have a chance to ruin the Leviathans' shots at a higher seeding when it goes towards playoffs. So Leviathans still have to play like it's a full series matchup for it.
And it matters quite a bit to get that 3rd seed guaranteed, because that would send you against the Warriors instead of the Titans in your first round quarterfinals. And no disrespect to the Warriors, but the Titans have been playing really good Smite. The Warriors still looking like they're trying to figure it out a little bit. I would much rather play the Warriors and the Titans round 1, especially with layers in the jungle now for that team. So definitely going to be a pretty worthwhile seed to secure.
I'm curious to see where Scream goes with this first item as he's gone towards the restored artifact. So I'm curious if it's going to be the Chronos Pendant to get him some cooldown to help those extremely long cooldowns that this Terra does have, or maybe he's just going to go for raw damage. Well, for the time being, Leviathans will go for a kill. They'll locate Inbound in the jungle, get his beads, and take his life. Rongyu on the board first.
And that's just a good rotation over from Panatom. He's able to get there pretty quickly and has level 5 already, so he's ready to fight and be pretty strong. A little surprised that Inbound has gone for Purification Beads against this comp. I mean, he's going to get all-in on by the Serket either way. And the Horus mobility, fairly conditional, needing an ally around to use that Protector Surge. I just feel like Horus without Blink isn't a character that I have to respect a whole lot. And without, if you're a Merlin, that's a Blink initiation you have to respect and have to keep Flicker up at all times. Or even if you're Izanami, that's a character you've really got to be worried about walking into your lane or ganking you out of the jungle. With the way that with Inbound having beads, all Zap has to do is hug the left side of the lane, and I don't see how this Horus could really scare him.
In fact, you do see Inbound just having to walk against them. Rongyu tries to go for an aggressive maneuver against Stewart, but Stewart has the Bifrost up and available to go back. That'll be on cooldown for a little bit while longer. But yeah, I mean, no Blink on Horus. You can get either a Blink stun, get the beads, you can get the Blink knockup, and then you bait out the beads afterward. But with no Blink, it's going to be hard for this Horus to get towards the backline. He does still have that ultimate if he wants to go for some kind of attempt at a gank in one of the lanes. It's something that, with no wards, you'd have to be able to just kind of know that that's coming. You do get a little bit of a telegraph of that circle at the base end of it, but you can be curious as to where the rest of it goes. Ultimate from Panatom. Finds Solar Troll, but he's got the cage, and he'll take one step one way and one step the other, but still ends up getting stunned. However, he'll have more than enough health to stay alive.
Really nice juke there from Solar Troll. Knows that Yarkor is going to use his jump in order to get out of the cage. Pretends to go one way, and then the door is still open to him. He can come back through, but Yarkor cannot, even with Panatom in that corporeal form, being able to walk through those player-made walls. He needs the damage and setup there from Yarkor. It needed to be a Stygian Torment in order to pick up Solar Troll to secure that kill. So as long as he jukes out the Cerberus, he's going to live, and Solar Troll does just that.
Phantom instead, after a failed game, will go back and start clearing up his side of the jungle, and the Leviathans will clear up the left side Scorpions. That's both Scorpions now off the map, as they were able to take that one even despite the loss of the gank. And it will be a Chronos pendant for Scream, get some early cooldown online.
He's made it through the worst part of the game for Terra, and he's even. So, you know, as bad as I think the early clearing has to be for this pick, and it's got to be horrible. You know, you can do the 2-1 combo and insta-clear one buff, and then you have no abilities for the next 15 seconds. So that was where the problem was always going to be. But now that he's got his Chronos Pendant and going to really cut a lot of that cooldown pretty quickly, I don't mind it.
Stewart caught up with beads. Has to use them to get through the Bifrost ultimate from Rongyu expended there, but making sure to get the beads off of Stewart will be a big pickup for him, because now it's a call for Panatom to make a rotation over if need be.
Already Stewart getting the treatment in this game. I mean, how many times has Rongyu been jumping in on him? That's 2 or 3 at the very least in less than 7 minutes. Now he doesn't have purification beads, so that all-in combo is going to be that much more potent. And Rongyu's done a good job of being aggressive without having to use this blink that he's picked up. You know, Inbound doesn't have his, but Rongyu's really a fan of using that ambush stealth in order to set up these ganks, and he did it well up against the Bolts, and I think he's in a good spot now here up against the Scarabs.
And while we see a double Chronos Pendant on the side of the Scarab, Shinto has picked up a Rod of Tahuti first item. Kind of the old, now for a while it was meta to pick up the Rod of Tahuti first, but it reminds me of the old Lassus mentality is, well, I was going to buy a Chronos Pendant, but I had enough for Rod of Tahuti, so why not just buy a Rod of Tahuti?
Why wouldn't you? Does a ton of damage, and now Scream used both dash. Rongyu decides against going in with that ambush, and again, he will sit here and wait as long as necessary in order to try and make a play, but I believe someone just pinged him out, so don't think he's going to be able to do it. I've got no problem with the Rod first. Feels good.
Lincoln gets beads away from Baronic, and that's going to be another big pick there for Rongyus. All that patience did finally pay off. Used his blink to get it, but he's going to take that trade every day of the week.
Zap on the run here from Stewart, who does have his ultimate, but Zap doing a good job of baiting Stewart in. Silences him, but that doesn't interrupt that channel on the Bifrost, and as a result, Panatom not going to be able to find the kill.
Man, isn't it just fun? You think you've locked down this Heimdall, all set and good, and then he just Bifrost away halfway across the map, and all that work you put in is for nothing.
Well, it's a fairly long Bifrost cooldown, but Stewart did a good job of moving his Bifrost crystal up, so it won't be as long as we've seen. Pretty quick teleport. So it looks like Inbound just used his ultimate, trying to set up a dive with Scream onto Zap, but Zap has finally reset. I think that might be, I couldn't tell if he had backed before that. Don't remember if he had bought that Ichabal, but either way, gets his charged bow and nice in a strong position now. This is where the Izadami can start to take over the lane because her wave clear already so good with just the auto attacks, but now even getting that mini Odysseus bow proc ups his clear speed pretty significantly.
Looking across the board for the supports, Rongyu has gone for his Gauntlet of Thieves as a first item rush. Already almost has it fully stacked up. Meanwhile, Inbound went for a Blackthorn rush. That item just got recently buffed, gives you 400 health now, but compared to the 350 it gave, so 50 more. It's still a crazy number, and you throw it on any physical that's able to pick that one up forward. Gets a little bit of cooldown reduction when he's over that mana threshold, but now he's delaying his Gauntlet of Thieves comparatively to Rongyu, who can just go back and work towards his Blackthorn. He'll have it and a fully stacked Thieves before Inbound can even get his Thieves going.
And just making sure that you could actually put some threat on the enemy backline as Horus, because getting that extra power, what was 40 power on Blackthorn, that actually matters in the full combo. Instead of doing, you know, I don't know, let's say 25% of someone's HP bar with Thebes, all of a sudden you're doing 45% of someone's HP bar, and that makes a really big difference in your kill thresholds that your carries need to do. I love warrior supports who can really put pressure on the life total early.
Baronic, no beads, gets away from the Cobra's Kiss from Rongyu and puts a lot of damage right back at him, but Baronic is a little unhealthy himself. He uses 2 of the Taiko drums over towards the red camp, thinking that somebody had snuck over there. So he saw Zapman making his rotation through. Not sure if he got caught in a ward there. Looks like he did right at that top end of it, but one thing I'm also seeing from both these supports we haven't seen in a while, the Ward Chalice has been picked up. And maybe they're paying attention to those stats that Gormai's been putting out on Twitter. I think he said, what, like 72 or 78% of games where the team has the most wards they win. So maybe they're trying to keep that stat up a little bit.
Well, the wards are going to not help him here as Gold Fury has already fallen. Leviathans able to snatch that one away. Had the ward vision on it. Make sure the Scarabs do not sentry ward there. And Merlin's strength comes into play yet again, especially when you've got Rod up Tahuti already. Love that call from the Leviathans, and Inbound could not get there in time all of a sudden it's just 1 kill, J-Mac, but it's 3,500 gold in the lead for the Atlantis Leviathans. They've just controlled all of these neutral camps. And the Scarabs comp doesn't really do a great job of fighting you at this point in the game. I mean, the Terra jungle wants some extra time in order to scale up. You don't have Blink on your horse to get your fight started. Don't have Blink on your Terra to get your fight started. Who is starting the fight for the Scarabs pre-12? Unless Solar Troll rotates, I'm not sure.
Right now we're seeing 1,000 gold separating the mids. We'll hold that thought. Stewart uses the ultimate to get away. Instead, it'll be an ult against Inbound and gets his purification bead, so he'll have to walk away for the time being. Panatom gets stunned by Scream, but we'll just go back towards the camps. And looking back over the net worth, it's about 1,000 gold that separate these mid laners and 900 that separate the support. So well over half of the gold lead is just coming from those two fronts alone.
Telling me that a lot of mid camps are going the Leviathan's way, which it makes sense when one jungler is Terra and the other one is Osiris, where Osiris oh, excuse me, just hiccuped. I was too far away from my cough button. I couldn't hit it. Oh, unlucky. Look, Osiris is like the best jungler in the game right now. It is due in large part due to his clear speed. The mannequins plus stone cutting and Ichabal, they just let him clear the jungle instantly because he doesn't worry about his cooldowns, which are already really short, by the way. Terra doesn't have that issue.
Wrong, Blink gets both with the Cobra's Kiss, looking for Veronic. He has to leap away, ambush in. One more basic assault necessary, but he gets taunted and feared away. Wrongu cannot close the gap to find Veronic. Inbound comes in with the save, but your core is here to make sure to seal the deal. Inbound cannot get out of there quick enough with his teammate, and instead it'll be the mid laner falling down.
Scream goes in, and the combo from Shinto will not land, so Scream won't get punished for it. Here comes Solar Troll immediately out of that engagement because Panatom still had his blink, had to use the ultimate to get away, but it ends up still being a big old 0 in the kill department for the Solar Scarabs after that.
They are fishing for a kill in mid. Meanwhile, Zapman has to use his Aegis and his beads to get away from Stewart, but with the Aegis and beads, he has no way to respond back to it, and Stewart picks up a nice solo kill against Zapman.
I will say, I'm pretty sure Stewart crit him on back-to-back autos with a 0-stack rage. If that's, maybe it was the tower shots doing that much damage to Zap, but I thought I saw some pretty big numbers come through there for Stu's auto attacks. And if that's the case, then I'll give credit to Zapman on expecting to not get double crit back-to-back like that, but how about giving the rookie some credit as well? Stewart has been getting the treatment all game long, consistent pressure onto him, particularly from Wrongu. He survived each gank, hasn't died, hadn't given up too much farm, and now finds a solo kill against the 2-time underneath his tower. Nicely done.
That just punishes Zapman for going too far forward. Almost, not quite maybe pulling an old school Zapman, but Zapman had no right to be trying to box under that tower. As soon as he got hit by the Gallarhorn, he turned to try and fight, and you got to realize there's Zapman, there's still a tier 1 tower, and you know, maybe almost 14 minutes in, but that tower does still hurt when you don't have any protections online.
Yeah, not going to take very long for the tower to punish you in that situation. So that's a good sign for the Scarabs because they needed something in order to start to go their way. I mean, the way that the middle of the map is going, with Shinto up 2 levels over Veronic, Scream is still fairly far away from being at his most effective point in the game. Inbound still without Blink, so can't really get any fights started. That is going to be the lane now that the Scarab should start to lean on. Can we keep punishing Zap? Because now he has no relics, so someone's got to get over there and try and make a play happen because that's got to be the win condition now for the Scarabs.
I'm curious if those pings were actually from the Leviathan side, pinging like, hey, here's where I'm standing, maybe make something go over here, or if that was the Solar Scarabs recognizing that Wrongu was stealth there because there's a ward directly in the middle of the lane. A ward you don't see very often, but with how Wrongu plays the Circuit, it's very well warranted, making sure to keep vision in case he does try and pull a stealth in the middle of the lane just like that.
Exactly. The way he does it is that he waits until there's not a minion wave and then walks it in stealths when no one's around. With that ward there, you won't get caught up.
Veronic gets caught out by Wrongu, but it's Wrongu who's in danger. Never mind, make that Veronic who's in danger. Shinto and Panatom team up inbound, trying to get him and his teammate out, but it's only going to be inbound, making it out of there as Panatom picks up Scream in the process.
Yeah, so when the Merlin's level like 17, he just doesn't care about what else is going on in the fight. If he full combos you, you're going to die, especially with this build that Shinto has. So much damage. And now Inbound has got nowhere to go.
Inbound stuck under his own tier 1 tower. That one will fall down alongside him. So that'll be 5 kills up on the board for the Leviathans and pushing that gold lead to 6 5,000 gold, close to 6,500, and with this Primal Fury up and available, they're looking to extend it even further.
Not going to take them long either. The Leviathans are starting to run away really through the mid lane, and that's one of the things is that this Merlin, you let it free farm. Shinto, we talk about how much farm he gets all the time. That's going to happen no matter what. You've got to find a way to put some pressure onto him. And now you're just, when you've got a full damage Terra jungle, Screams just gets one shot in all of these fights. It doesn't get a chance to get his damage off. And that's what the meta is in the jungle right now. It's not that you're able to gank these laners at 16 minutes. You know, that's not a Terra jungle exclusive problem. But look at the junglers that are being successful in the meta right now. It's Osiris, who can still put some threat on you even when behind, who's tanky even when behind. It's Gilgamesh, who can CC you. Those are the sorts of things that I think are the most successful in the jungle right now, and that's just not the case with the Terra, who will CC you, I suppose, but if you just beat that CC, if she's full damage, you just kill her.
And because all this action's been happening in the mid, SOT hasn't even had much of an opportunity to try and make an impact with this Odin. This first pick priority that the Solar Scarabs have drafted for, this central point for them, hasn't even had an opportunity. You see goose eggs across the board for it, and it's not because he doesn't want to get into the fight, it's because he never has a chance. Hardcore has kept him in this lane the entire game. We saw Hardcore make one rotation over, get one kill, go all the way back to the right side, and that's where he's kept SOT busy.
That's his job in this sort of game, is we know the Odin could actually turn the tide of these fights. I'm just going to sit in lane and force him to keep answering me, because otherwise I'm going to get too much farm, he's going to fall too far behind, and it's going to be too easy for us to just disengage whenever he's around.
Stewart uses the ultimate and sends one through the realms and able to get through the Bifrost back to safety of his own. Loses about half of his health in the process of it, but wrong use. Not too upset taking that trade.
Inbound still cannot close that gap because he hasn't bought a Blink. He's got Bracer of Radiance now as his second relic. And look, I think Bracer is really good. I think that this is, if the Horus can't be your initial engage, then he's not worth picking. And that's the real problem right now for the Scarabs, is that at least Scream now has Blink, at least Solar Patrol should start to be in some of these fights, so you do have a dedicated fight starter, but it's not going to be easy when the Terra, whose full damage is level 15, and Solar Patrol doesn't want to be the first one in as Odin for the vast majority of the time, because he wants to get follow-up value out of his cage. He wants someone else to go in, force Merlin Flicker, force Izanami Dash, and then he can go in with the Blink and cage these priority targets and hope for some follow-up after that.
And in spite of all the pressure that Stewart was able to build for the duo lane, even with Bobby having to rotate out and focus more towards mid, he's the one who ends up losing his tower first, and Zapman just holds him there, just like the same thing with SOT being held in solo lane. Zapman has kept Stewart in these duo lane matchups and doesn't allow him to rotate over, and because of that, him and his team are able to stand behind and say, all right, Zapman, just do what you want for the first 20 minutes of the game. We trust you. You'll get to that late game stage and then just come in and start swinging. Now, that's what he's doing now, is he's got a slight lead as far as the build goes. He's about a half a level over Stewart for the time being, and they've evened up that experience gap.
Very good spot moving towards these objectives. And Zap, you know, is going to be going this crit-oriented build. It's what he's really liked these last few weeks. Really much better at doing the objectives, which is a key factor in this meta. How long it takes you to do things like Fire Giant matters quite a bit. Crit build helps you more so than the auto attack build in that way. Even on Izanami, who typically abuses the bow build the best because she's got one of the best teams in the game. Silver Branch does a lot for that character with the power that it provides once you get over that attack speed cap. Little surprise we see him go even on Izanami.
Roggy looking for inbound. He takes about half of his health with just a single combo, thanks to the help of Shinto there to make sure he can get some additional damage alongside it. And Shinto has finished up a Soul Reaver to add a little bit more power to that punch forward. Rada Tahuti, Divine Ruin, Obsidian Shard, and Soul Reaver. Shinto swinging, and he hasn't even finished that starter item just yet.
30% pen. I mean, he's got everything you really need outside of some cooldown reduction, but as you mentioned, he hasn't upgraded his starter quite yet, and once he gets that, that's an extra 10% cooldown for this Merlin, assuming he goes for the Pendulum of Ages. So you're in a dominant position right now with Shinto. And I want to see the Leviathans. I mean, they're up 9,000 gold. I don't know how much more you have to farm for. I mean, maybe Shinto getting that upgrade is the last thing they need before they start just grouping around fire and going for it. But they're in a position now where they're not going to get that much stronger over their opponents. You know, they're going to keep getting stronger, but so are the Solar Scarabs. Some key items being completed there for them. I mean, Baronic's nearly done with his Soul Reaver. You don't want to let that Raijin get that, would get out of the early game with this type of deficit without really punishing him for it.
Leviathans start grouping around the Gold Fury, and just as quickly as they took Primal last time around, they'll also take this Gold Fury, and there's no answer back from the Scarabs. They're unable to find a path to even try and stop them just because they're so far behind in gold. They're lacking some of those big power spikes like the Soul Reaver you mentioned for Baronic. Stewart hasn't finished off that 5th item just yet, where Zapman's already got his dominance online and is starting to push up these lanes one more time. We see Zapman rushing up ahead. So at this point, where the Solar Scarabs kind of make their stand, does it have to be at that Fire Giant, or do they just kind of have to wait until these Phoenix Sieges come through?
I mean, Phoenix Siege, you assume you're going to lose all 3 towers at the same time. You're going to be down 14,000 gold, give or take. You know, maybe a little bit less than that, but pretty close to that amount. Would you rather take a fight down 10K at Fire or down 14K on Phoenix with them having Fire Giant? I think I'd probably rather take the Phoenix fight, but I'm not liking either end of my option. You're really hoping that Scream can just get a big Blink ultimate and one-shot like 2 people. That's your hope, is that he's going to get a good ultimate off, and Baronic's Raiju is going to multi-proc that damage, and you're gonna win the fight that way, because that is the only path forward I see for the Scarabs.
It looks like the Scarabs are setting up a defensive around that bracer. You see it dropped right up at the top side there by the Fire Giant pit in their main little corridor, but it's immediately going to be stripped away. Now, that'll take 20 seconds off its cooldown, so Inbound will have it back up soon, but that soon needs to be sooner, as the Fire Giant is already under half health. Zapman and Panatom are swinging away at it. Inbound wants to try and get in, has to use his speeds away from Hardcore's ultimate. SOT gets caught in the midst, thrown into the middle of 5, and the cage is only going to delay his life for just a moment as Panatom leaps in to take him out.
And Inbound didn't end up going in with that ultimate like I thought he might. Baronic's ultimate not going to find anything. And that was the dream right there for the Scarabs. Scream gets a big Blink ultimate, ends up disengaging. How much damage is it going to do? And it did damage. You know, it was noticeable chunks coming off the Leviathans, but I'm still seeing 5 people alive for the Atlantis Leviathans, and that is all that matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how low they got, they're still here.
They actually left that Harpy there. I don't know if they just like miscommunicated and think they were going to get the last basic and they're just letting it sit there, or is somebody going to go clear? No, they're just going to leave it up there instead. Now Leviathans go back towards the Fire Giant one more time, starting it up. Zapman and everybody else will be here. Ducey has highlighted a lot of Asclepius picked up by Scream to get a little bit of extra healing for it, but all that healing's not really going to do them that much to try and stop this Fire Giant, as it's already gone. Now the Leviathan can start pushing up some of these towers, and the first one in their sights is going to be the Tier 2 in solo. They may be able to look towards Phoenix. Stewart isn't back yet, and neither is Scream.
They're starting their channel their backs, but it's not going to take Zapman long once you get here. The good news is Scarabs don't have to worry about a wave for a little bit. Leviathan's wave is on the way, and that's why they're still here. If this was going to be a backdoor situation, I think they'd already be back in base and resetting, but you got a wave coming, so why not try our hand at it?
Hardcore walks forward, try and get a stun against SOT, but doesn't find it. Instead, now with the minion wave here, Zapman will start throwing basics at the Phoenix. Takes it down to just a little around half health before he has to walk away, as he's starting to take a little bit of damage from the rest of the team. Now SOT sitting at half health. That Merlin is starting to hit hard in that ice stance.
Yeah, been hitting hard for a little bit as Rongu goes in, finds Stewart.
And into the backline, ultimate out of Scream, hits quite a few players. Shinto has to use the Aegis to walk away, and now it's just Panatom left in the middle of everybody. Inbound channels the ultimate, but doesn't get anything further from it. The walls collapse in for Scream, but a nice Cobra's Kiss from Rongu will push him away, and now the rest of the Leviathans hit back out.
That was such a smart play from Zap. He turns around and throws a couple of autos in order to bounce the Odysseus bow towards Solo Retrol so that SOT can't blink cage. That was such a smart play there from Zap to keep SOT in combat. That's one of those, I mean, you're not trying to lay that out in the game plan that, hey, I'm going to turn around and Odysseus bow him. It's someone's like, hey, Zap's probably just thinking, did he blink cage anyone that fight? I don't really think so. And just knowing that that's an option, great game sense coming there from the Leviathan's Hunter. But I mean, that was as good of a fight as the Scarabs have taken all game. And that's the thing, is that now it's not Terra jungle. It's just you have Terra on your team, who's built full damage, but you know, still a Terra at the end of the day. And if Scream can continue to get good ultimates off that hit Shinto and Zapman, All it takes is one Raiju through the back of the fight to proc it in order to really turn the tides, because remember, with Terra Ultimate, you can't Aegis the damage. The stones, you take damage when the stones fall off, and the stones fall off whenever you take damage. And if you Aegis, then you don't take damage and the stones don't fall off. So it doesn't happen until until it's already guaranteed to be procced.
Kind of that catch-22 situation. I need to take the damage, but I don't want to take the damage, but I have to, but I can't. Yeah. So Boronic used his own ultimate, try and push everybody away, but that's trying to push them away from a mid lane tier 2, which they don't care about. They're going for the left side tier 2 tower. Inbound in the middle of 3, Shinto puts a lot of damage against him, gets the arcane, gets the beads away from Bobby as well, as he has to dash away back to the rest of his team. He'll heal up a little bit. SOT blinks in, gets a cage on 3.
Good job, and a big jump as well, but the rest of the team just a little bit too far behind. No one else can get close, but Rongyu, he's not getting close. He's going in.
He's going to dive and find Boronic and throw him right into the dark portal. Zapman gets the credit for the first kill. Stewart takes half of his health from the spit from Hardcore, and Solar Troll is trying to play the front line for it. Dash from Scream, the wall breaks and takes down Rongyu, but the left side Phoenix is already gone. Scream under half. SOT is trying to zone them away, but it's too little too late for Stewart. He falls down to Panatom, and SOT may just get burned down by Shinto. He's going to run away, get out of the Dragonfire, but the Titan is not the primary target for the Leviathans yet.
Kills are the call, but Zapman falls to Scream, and now it looks like the Leviathans might not get their opportunity to end. Still looking for this Terra, and finally Shinto finds him.
That fire is just a little bit too much for him. Inbound steps inside the Dragonfire, and Panatom picks him up. It's just SOT alive, but with only Shinto as the primary damage dealer and Panatom both being so low, they're not going to be able to push in towards this Titan because Boronic is up in 5. So they get the left side tier 2, they get the left side Phoenix, but they end up losing on quite a bit as well.
And still end up getting the priority Phoenix. Fire Giant, I believe, just fell off, so they're now able to just back reset, go for the next Fire Giant. Could they have ended there? Probably. You know, that wasn't the ideal scenario for the Leviathans, but they get what they needed. They still don't lose that much. What are the Scarabs get some extra time to farm, but that's about it.
Panatom will be left alone to finish the Primal Fury. Shinto already had left and decided to go for his red buff. They'll all go back to base and finish off, or maybe finish off those final items. They have over 3,000 gold in hand apiece, so that'll be a Soul Gem for Shinto and a Kin Size for Panatom to round out their build. They already have the Mannequin Hidden Blade build. Pendulum of Age has already been completed, so both of these players now sit in full swing and with some red potions for some extra bang.
On the other side, though, I mean, Scream has his Soul Reaver done. That helps to the one-shot ideology of Terra Jungle. Chin Size now done for Stewart. And remember, the Scarabs went into that fight losing a lot of relics. Boronic didn't have his ultimate or his beads. That's why Rongyu was able to find him so easily with that last breath and toss him into death. Scarabs do get some tools back for this fight, but didn't do the best job at pushing out that fire side wave. They or the duo side wave, excuse me, with the fire minions. That's going to start to put pressure right away. They needed to you got to kind of push that one all the way down to tower, but do it at the right time so that the Leviathans don't just kill you while they come out of base.
Zapman's got his Deathbringer finally finished up and a fully stacked raid, so he's got quite a bit of crit chance available to him, and those crits are going to hit just a little bit harder, especially when he has that stem popped for that extra attack speed. He's going to be capping out there most likely with those 2 bows built alongside him, so going to be a little bit dangerous for these Scarabs try going into the backline, but it seems they kind of been sleeping on the damage that Scream was able to put out. He got 2 kills. Not going to say by himself, but he was able to finish 2 kills alone in that last fight just by breaking those walls and slamming one, taking down Rongyu, and then the second time taking Zapman.
Now he's got the Bumba Spear, so gets percent power after clearing a jungle camp. That's a really big power spike if you can use it properly. Just keep one of these camps up for Scream to clear and kind of keep that rotation going. That's the right idea here for the Scarabs. It looks like the Leviathans are willingly waiting until this Fire Giant gets enhanced. They haven't started pulling it quite yet, but this is the right idea, I think. Go back, pull it now, get it to 30 minutes, and then kill it right as it gets enhanced.
SOT gets caught by Hardcore and Panatom trying to walk in towards Fire Giant. It's down to half. Inbound, looking for a target. Dunks only onto Rongyu, who's immediately going to respond with his own ultimate. SOT drops the cage. Zapman is in danger, being chased by SOT. No one's there to zone for him. Rongyu has to go through, but the Bird Bomb from SOT is enough to take him down. It's Boronic in danger, and Inbound comes back to his rescue.
Rongu with a great taunt finds Baronic, and now Panatom dealing with Scream, but Shinto trying to win his one up against SOT.
SOT has to leap away because now it's 4 versus 2. Inbound dashes give SOT a little bit of extra healing, but now they're staring down the barrel of the shotgun of the Leviathans, and meanwhile the fire minions all pushing up the left-hand side. Inbound is just being kept busy by Rongu. SOT is trying to keep the rest of them occupied.
Taunt doesn't land there from Rongu, so Inbound will end up falling to Shinto eventually. But as you mentioned, J-Mac, left side fire minions still pushing. Still 18 seconds for the next respawn. The Leviathans don't have their hunter, so it will be harder for them to go for EFG. They decide that they're going to push this mid lane tier 2 instead, wait for Zapman to come back up, and then head back. So not too bad of a plan. And you see the composition plan start to materialize there for the Solar Scarabs. You know, Scream goes in with help from Inbound, gets him directly into the back line right away, just drop shipped into the back, ends up getting his ultimate on both Shinto and Zapman. Then Solar Patrol goes in and gets their movement abilities, and the Aegis from Zap, again, can't Aegis a Terra ultimate. Eventually it's going to get popped, and it does, and that puts him low enough that Solar Patrol can finish him off. But if Zap and Shinto do a little bit of a better job still separating, but not separating quite as far, that they could stay a little bit closer together so that Shinto could have peeled for Zap, given him a Soul Gem proc, healed him up a little bit that way. That would have probably changed the tide of that fight a little bit more. Leviathan's backline just on slightly different pages.
And SOT does good of keeping Zapman out and killing Zapman, but right now if you're looking at the player damage charts, Zapman's not the issue. It's Shinto, 32.7k damage from this Merlin, and it's only going up every single time he throws an ability out against those Scarabs, and it's only going to get worse for them. Now, he is full slot, so he can't really... Theoretically, he can get more power if he gets this Enhanced Fire Giant, gets an Elixir online, but he's hit his build's top state for the moment. Fire Giant started up one more time. Zapman and Rongu, the only ones in the pit to take the damage for it, and they're shredding through it pretty quickly, down to half health. SOT has to stun Panatom, walk away. Rongu goes in for the engagement.
Oh, Yarkor jumps into everyone, but another good ultimate from Scream. Solar Patrol cages too, but Stewart's already gone.
Stewart is gone. Inbound and Baronic are both so low. Hardcore is looking for the zone due to try and keep them down and keep SOT busy. While Hardcore finds one, Shinto takes down SOT, and it's 3v1. Hardcore is taunting in front of them, saying, yeah, this is all that I need. I am the front line for this team. I am the carry for this team. Triple kill for Hardcore. Puts 4 in the dirt, and the Solar Scarabs will fall game 1.
Look, I mean, the minions were going to do the job anyways. They didn't even need to win the team fight this hard. But of course they're going to. Leviathans nearly clean sweep the Solar Scarabs there in that final team fight. And that's just the CC and control that they had. It was a decent start of that fight for the Scarabs, but still ultimately not enough in order to make the fight go their way.
Might as well go for one last little kill. Now they do end up losing Hardcore. So just as soon as he got that rampage, he ends up losing on the tail end of the Leviathans. They came out to play in that last fight, and they got a big win, big pick for themselves to really escalate that.
And remember, this set does matter quite a bit for the Leviathans to make sure that they get that 3rd seed, guarantee their matchup up against the Oni Warriors at Phase 2 playoffs. And people might be, I'm sure, people are going to be memeing Scream for that pick and all that kind of stuff. And look, I don't think it's good. I think I made that pretty clear. But this Scarabs team, it doesn't really matter that much if they win or lose this. They're trying new things. They're trying to find their identity as a team. It doesn't offend me that Scream went Terra Jungle. I just don't think it's particularly good.
Didn't work out too hot for them here in game 1. We'll see if they can pick it back up in game 2. We'll take it to a break and bring it back to the desk.
Hello, Smite fans, and welcome back to the Smite Pro League powered by Alienware. But I'll tell you guys one thing. Alienware is not the only awesome sponsor that we have going for us here in the Smite Pro League. You can also support the league directly or support some of the teams yourself. The choice is really yours for the making. And if you head on over to shop.smiteproleague.com, you can look to pick up some merch for, like I said, showcasing your exact love for all things Smite Pro League, or getting a little bit more fan-specific, some of those team merch options that are available as well. And chat, I get asked a lot, why do you like wearing beanies so much? And the honest-to-God truth of it all, chat, is that I have to wear this beanie in order to contain my massive brain, because when it comes to Smite game analysis, Mifflin, am I wrong? Ever?
Taco, I'm going to answer your question with another question. Let's wax poetic for a moment here. Is it the job of the analyst to predict what is going to happen or what should happen?
Both.
And that's what we did. You did what would, and I did what should.
I don't know if you did that. You went on a 30 to 45 second rant about how I was out of pocket.
Clearly, they lost by like 25,000
to be proven 100% wrong because what's that production? Oh, that's right. I had 100% predictions
didn't say anything
the week before this, and you dare challenge my analysis, you goon? Never.
Play the replays, production.
Never.
Now that we're doing stuff or whatever.
Chithins, you may play the replays.
He's doing it because I said it.
As much as we need you to. I do want to give Mifflin a little bit of a breather room here to try and recover from that massive L he just took against me. And, Mifflin, a fair point to what you just said as well. A bit of an L as far as the gold is concerned here for the Solar Scarabs. This one got away from them pretty quickly. Leviathans definitely making fast work of everything that was available on the map.
Yeah, I mean, they, in this particular match, were the better team, and they had the better draft. And I'm not going to say it's because Terra was in the jungle, but I'm not going to say it wasn't because Terra was in the jungle. Can it work out, Taco? I think it can in your ranked games. Absolutely. In competitive play, I'm still a hater, all right? And I've been divergent with the pros a couple of times in the past. In particular, Jean Quija in general is not a god that I think is incredibly strong and has a 5% win rate. Terra Jungle now at 0% win rate. And I'm gonna go ahead and keep saying it shouldn't happen.
That's fair, Mifflin. I mean, there are those of us who can break down, analyze, and assess what is to come, and then there are those of us who have a reluctancy towards being able to look further with Smite Pro Play visions, and I'll let you decide which of those categories you fall into for the time being, Mifflin. But as for right now, Solar Scarabs, they are looking for a bounce back after that Game 1 defeat, and again, relatively tough stuff there, especially when you look at what went down in that mid lane. 40,000 damage from Shinto. My man was free casting as much as you could possibly want to.
Yeah, I mean, Rongyu was just sitting invisible in the middle of his lane over and over, just blanking on Veronic as he tried to step up and clear the wave. Worth noting, though, for the Solar Scarabs, one of the shining points for them, which was not the Terra Jungle, it was Stewart inside of the long lane who was able to find a solo kill onto Zapman, finding 2 crits in a row with only 30% crit from that rage. That is astronomical odds, and Zapman loses his life. But Goremizer in the back, in the green room, dropped me a pretty fun stat. Stewart, now with 20 games under his belt, has just tied Paul for deaths inside of the league, who has 56 games played.
Although Stewart's death count really not as high as some of the others on his team in that Game 1. That was also just the Leviathans, I think, just fully making work. Once they got a nice experience and gold lead established, Mifflin, they made sure to do exactly what they do best. They played it around the objectives. They stripped the map apart as much as possible. Didn't really leave any sort of recovery options there for the Scarabs to work with. And as far as Stewart is concerned, I mean, I think it's great to showcase to Zapman at the very least that, hey, you can't just eat 4 tower shots and then expect to walk away alive here. So I do like seeing Stewart be able to punish Zapman on the back end of that. Unfortunately, it just didn't really get a chance to amount to much of anything else here. But Game 2, Mifflin, like I mentioned, what's some of the changes that you think need to take place, aside from the Terra Jungle, because I already know that's going to be the most obvious one you point out, but I think it's also important to note that Scream was honestly the only one who wasn't behind on his team.
Yeah, he did have, I think it was 4th highest damage inside of the match, but so I guess, sure, Taco, Terra Jungle could come back, but I don't think it will.
Don't know if it's the look that the Scarabs need right now.
Let's get him back on that Bastet. That's what the Leviathans were scared of in Game 1, banning it out in the second phase. If I want to see anything different from the Solar Scarabs this time around, it's early game aggression. Let's get inbound on those Hercules or Fenrir style picks. Let's get Stewart on something that is a little bit more aggressive inside a lane. Seems like Heimdall was drafted for the safety. As you highlighted earlier, that solo kill was off the back of Zapman going for an attempted tower dive. Maybe have something that can match the aggression that we know inbound is looking to go for. Something like an on her, maybe a Hercules on her lane if I get my way in particular. And from there, try and root that aggression. That has been the strong point of the majority of the Scarabs matches is the early game. From there, then try and push it out further.
Well, you're talking about wanting to see some more aggressive picks here for the Solar Scarabs, and as we head into the picks and bans for game number 2, the drafts are definitely open, I would say, because Leviathans are going to be in that first pick position. Solar Scarabs feeling as though they're better off taking the response section for the time being, but I actually think I would like to see the Solar Scarabs prioritize Circuit a little bit earlier on, and Zapman, he's just letting the fro go.
Yeah, this is a good look for Zapman. No longer a samurai and now I almost said clown, but he's clowning the enemies, so I can't even say it here. Zap just looking good and looking like he's having a fun time. Yeah, I think that bans largely are going to look the same here. The Leviathans seem to have really rooted out what they're worried about from the Scarabs in particular. It's this Yanis ban towards Baronic. He is not allowed to play that pick anymore. Artemis, the exact same as Game 1 as well, where we're starting to see the adjustments I think is going to be in the actual picks themselves.
Well, and that's the thing, is that Leviathans, like you just mentioned, they're going to look for a total repeat of Game 1. They're not really the ones in a position to have to feel as though they need to switch their picks and bans here, given that they had so much success in Game 1. But Solar Scarabs, they know for a fact that if the option is left open, Leviathans will almost always look to take that Osiris. Granted, Gilgamesh could be another strong contender here for that first pick position, but I think the point that I'm really trying to get at is Drangyu got 5th pick Circuit in this Leviathans draft, and then Solar Scarabs took a Horus into that. So I don't think that it was overconfidence by any means from inbound on his end. I think he truly believed that the interruption from the Horus would be strong, especially against the Circuit whenever she's trying to look for some further dive and commit potential. But with Osiris being banned, Solar Scarabs, they had Tiamat in the game before. They're going to let Tiamat go through this time around, and I was talking about that Circuit as a possible pickup here for the Solar Scarabs. Not sure how ideal that would be, though, against the likes of a Tiamat.
No, not many things feel so great into the mother of monsters, Tiamat. And Tiamat is a god that is just so plug and play at this point. I mean, she can fit into any singular composition. You don't necessarily have to draft around her. It's not like Morgan Le Fay being so immobile. You kind of want to draft some peel. Instead, Tiamat does a ton of damage. She does it from far away. She spawns her own peel. She can literally spawn a tank or a tornado to run at you and then leap away and become tanky herself. Incredibly strong. And the Leviathans are a team that have plenty of experience playing the meta pick, so I'm sure they're very happy able to find that one in the first slot.
Well, despite how heavily Baronic was being harassed in game number 1, he seems content to try and run it back with the Raijin in game 2, and I still like this look for the Solar Scarabs, Mifflin. They've got 2 incredibly aggressive, strong early to mid-game gods, and Cerberus, I think, fairly flexible. As for whether it's going to be in solo or support, to be determined. I think that really just depends on whether or not the Leviathans are going to be willing to solidify some of their frontline pieces. And what do you think is the best way for the Leviathans to essentially complement this Tiamat pick?
Anything that can utilize that mid-game. Mid-game is really where Tiamat starts to hit her stride. She's not necessarily an early-game god, or you could draft early game and just try and make it a bridge for her into the late game. Both gods being hovered right now, Ymir and Gilgamesh, do operate to generate pressure on their own. I think I would have preferred to see the Ymir just because I'm such a huge wrong you stan, but hard to argue against Gilgamesh in of itself. Does have okay flex potential if we're talking about SEC. Could go support, could go jungle if we're talking SPL. Likely going jungle unless you're fine. Okay, you might see it in like soul lane exactly one time so far this year. So Gilgamesh likely is going to be for Panitom on the side of the Leviathans. And already, I'm a huge fan of this draft. And it's not just because of the Tiamat, but I would say it's like 95% because of the Tiamat.
Yeah, it's hard to not be a fan of Tiamat-based drafts just because we've seen the level of success that so many teams have been able to have whenever this god pick gets let through. And as far as the Solar Scarabs are concerned, they've got their own work cut out for them here in Mifflin, because Rom, Gilgamesh, first thing I'm thinking of is this Raijin. When he goes into those Taiko drums, he is not the most mobile god of all time, and Astral Barrage, Winds of Samash, I think both excellent dive utility features that Leviathans can utilize here to essentially take Baronic out before he's ever even really able to get his damage off.
But Baronic does have the benefit of playing a early game aggressive mage. The second you get that Thunderclap available to yourself, can use it to close gap onto this Tiamat at level 2, and with the help of a jungler, hopefully be able to put her down before she hits her stride. Izanami is a third lock-in overall for the Solar Scarabs, taking a shot towards the Leviathans here. Maybe a young Stewart says, I can do it too. Maybe he can, but it's a little bit more aggressive, which is exactly what I wanted to see from the Scarabs.
Almost wonder if Rongyu might decide to take the Horus this go around, just because I like the idea of a knock-up as far as interrupting the Izanami and the Raijin whenever they're trying to channel their damage. I also like it in the sense that the multi-use of dashes and the ultimate in general would give the Leviathans a pretty strong edge in terms of just looking for that overall collapse, because that is the main thing that I'm kind of getting from this draft out of Leviathans. They just want an all-in kind of collapse sort of composition, and they've got that so far with these top 3. Definitely still need a little bit more as far as crowd control is concerned, especially when you're trying to deal with the likes of Hercules, which I'm assuming might be headed for Bobby.
Yeah, that is, I mean, you said that Leviathans have a run-it-down draft. I think the Solar Scarabs picked themselves up one as well. Raijin, early game aggression. Cerberus can do it all on his own inside of the soul lane, and Hercules and Izanami together pull into Driving Strike, immediately into a slow or a silence if you survive the slow and a couple auto attacks from Izanami, even if she is, I'm not even convinced that she's going to be forced to use her ultimate with all the damage that's coming from this duo lane already. Decent disruption in the backline as well. The Solar Scarabs not so worried about their CC, and to speak to your point, the Leviathans do have a little bit of CC inside of their draft. They've got slows and knockups, they've got a couple of stuns as well, but all very hard to apply and all very single target from just Gilgamesh and Tiamat. Horus, though, a little bit more single target CC, but definitely easier to apply, and definitely something they're used to playing around.
And this RDO, I think, just to try and introduce a little bit more of not the all-in on the single target CC. I think that RDO's cripple field is going to be incredibly impactful, especially against the likes of that Raijin, Izanami, and Hercules. Could be difficult for them to escape from that cripple field, and with the Eagles rally now being the final component here for the Solar Scarabs, there is a lot of dependency on this physical, especially the double physical front line. Granted, they do have the Cerberus, but again, Cerberus is a god that I think can be great as far as initiation is concerned, but for the Solar Scarabs specifically, they're going to have, I think, to really prioritize that early to mid-game Mifflin, because I don't feel as though this is a composition that's really intended for this game to go late.
Taco, I'm going to ask you a question here because I kind of blew myself up last time around. Who do you think the jungle is for the Solar Scarabs? If it were up to me, I'd probably put Hercules in the jungle, Bellona inside of solo, and Cerberus in support. Or potentially you can switch around the Cerberus and the Hercules if you so choose. But where are you at on it?
That sounds the most likely. Personally, because it's Scream, I wouldn't be surprised if it wound up being a Bellona jungle. I think that is something that kind of caters to his playstyle. And he's just always been a little bit more prone to the unconventional, although...
Yeah, clearly.
Again, I don't think that it's unlikely for Hercules to wind up as the jungle either, but I find it hard to believe that the Solar Scarabs would want to put inbound onto either the Cerberus or the Bellona, just because he has felt the most impactful whenever he's gotten gods like the Hercules in that support position. But if it is Bellona in the jungle, it might be tough for Scream to find that lockdown potential against the likes of a Gilgamesh and Tiamat.
Yeah, just really the Eagles rally for that lockdown CC. So you heard it here first on the desk. We don't know what the jungle is going to be for the Solar Scarabs. Hard to say going forward, but a couple of options for them inside of the draft. The Leviathans, on the other hand, a very clear and concise composition here. Great CC, good lockdown. Team fight sustain as well should ring true from the RDO. If I have to favor one draft, and I do, because that's how it works, I'm probably going with the Leviathans here.
That's fair enough. I'm on the same page as you with that one, Mifflin. You don't have to worry about that. That's something that we can definitely
agree,
connect
finally.
with and agree on. But Game 2 about to be underway here. Atlantis Leviathans versus the Solar Scarabs. Can the Atlantis Leviathans bring it home in 2-0 fashion? That's for the casters to help us decide.
Thank you so much, Taco and Mifflin. The question that everybody wanted answered, where's the jungle going? Well, it's going to be Bologna this time around, so it will be inbound with his signature Hercules support pick. It's J-Mac Tucker and Aggro here, joined by Doug one more time, bringing you guys Game 2 of Leviathans and the Scarabs. And, well, Game 1 didn't look so hot for the Scarabs. The Terra jungle didn't quite pan out for them, and, well, they're just getting out-damaged pretty much on all fronts by Shinto alone, sitting well at the top of the charts for it. We'll see if they're able to pull it back here in Game 2.
Yeah, pretty crazy that Shinto kind of dominates you Game 1, and then you go, yeah, let's give him Tiamat Game 2.
Don't know about that.
Let's see what happens there. Surprised to see him get his hands on that pick, but good little warm-up for him before Phase 2 playoffs on that type of selection. As for the Bologna jungle, it offends me a lot less than the Terra jungle, for sure. I think Bologna jungle is absolutely okay. That's as far as I'm going.
Dives on Stewart. Inbound has to use the pluck in order to pull Rongyu away from Stewart. The Banana Man Bobby coming through with the nice Master of Peel available for himself to get there. I had to say it one time. I don't
understand.
Banana Bobby, because he's got good peel. Like a banana. You peel a banana.
Okay, I still don't understand where the banana is in all of this,
Because you peel a banana.
Right.
It's good peel.
Okay. So that makes him a banana. But
Yeah,
he's the one.
because he's got good peel.
But if that were to work, he would need to be doing the peeling.
Okay, I was told that you can blame Nathan in Inbound's chat for that one. He told me to say it, so I got it out there for him. Now we don't ever have to worry about it
Yeah, all right,
again,
Nathan,
though.
here's the deal. Unlucky for you that I was on this cast.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate.
Everyone else would have let that slide, but I will not. It makes no sense, and I won't appreciate it.
Well, you had your one chance, Nathan, in Inbound's chat, so there's a little bit of shout out for you there. But back into this game, Rongyu now picking up the horse for himself. He saw Inbound play and went, oh yeah, that's kind of a fun guy. Maybe I should try my hand on it. And decides to pick it up to go up against Inbound to try and match some of that early aggression.
And immediately, Blink pays off for him that he can actually get a fight started with that Blink. And remember, Rongyu played this pick a ton at the beginning of Season 7. This was really the combo that he and Netrioid were running to kick off the season, so you know he's comfortable.
Double knockup and a double slow coming through. Stewart sitting inside the minion wave, and Zatman has to roll away because he's taking a little bit too much damage from the minions. Doesn't have the same luxury that Stewart has of having all of his basics be able to be boomerangs, and Panatom will dive the Tier 1 tower for SOT at only level 4. First blood goes the way of the Leviathans, and they may be able to get more in this duo.
This Inbound is so low, and no Blink for him either, but no Blink for Rongyu for the next 39, so it seems like Inbound won't get punished, but this should open up a pretty easy purple buff invade, knowing that he has to go back to base. Good start for the Leviathans across the map. They make plays over here, and now Stewart
gets caught out. The stun and the cripple are good to hold him, but the stealth is enough to sneak him away from Zapman and Rongyu. So Stewart makes it out, still holds on to his beads through all of that. If he dies with beads up, that is an extremely greedy play by Stewart, but he does make it out.
Ironic gonna dash in on his rotation, but a little bit too late in order to secure the purple. So the Leviathans duo lane get away with their thievery, and now are able to clear out, get their own purple, and reset for Zatman to come back with a full Ichabal in comparison to Stewart, who only has that Hunter's Bow. Big advantage for Zap in that lane.
Scream going to take a little bit of damage from the Cyclone thrown out by Shinto as he's now hit level 5 on this Tiamat. 99% I think is what I saw for the pick ban rate for this god, and more often than not it's been banned. I think it was 77% of the time this god is banned, and well, there's a reason so. When you let Shinto kind of free cast on a Merlin game 1, I don't think Tiamat is the option. I would give him game number 2 to allow him to free cast.
No, but you can't necessarily give Panatom Osiris either. You know, there are a lot of picks that feel pretty good, but Veronic in trouble. Didn't even get his leap off, even with the purification.
Consumes enough damage. Knockup is good, and the win to Shamash from Panatom, and Shinto will let Panatom try and seal the deal, but Panatom can't close the gap. The slow, not enough for him to close that gap, so Scream will just barely make it out with his life.
That is the most psycho play I've ever seen in my life. Did you see Scream's health bar? And he had ult, and he had mana, and he didn't use it. That is craziness. And he lived. He got paid on that play.
Same thing happened to Stewart earlier.
That is crazy.
Same thing happened with Stewart under the tower, right in front of his tower line. He had the purification beads, got hit by stun, decided, I don't need to use this, got hit by knockup, said, man, I still don't need to use this, got hit by the cripple, and said, man, I don't think I need to use these beads still. Maybe he'll use them now as Rongyu dashes aggressively against him. Up in the sky is Zapman looking and waiting for him to pop out of stealth. Needs all 3 shots to take him down. Instead, he'll only get 2, and Rongyu will take the final basic to drop him.
Yeah, these two already playing their aggressive duo lane very well. You could see Rongyu having fun in the player cam. I mean, these two are synergizing really well together already, and that is a scary thought for the rest of the SPL if Rongyu and Zap can become one of those premier duo lanes.
Inbound will get beats from Zapman with a blink driving strike.
My God,
to
he
push
even
him
uses
away.
his relics.
Look at that, he used it.
He does it all.
He got a nice relic. He doesn't get the kill, he gets the assist, but he gets 2 out of the 3 snipes, and Rongyu, well, he'll take the basic for it to get it. Rongyu says, you know what, supports need the kill sometimes.
Yeah, he needs it, and on Horus he actually puts it to fairly decent use because you can end up putting yourself in a position where, like I was talking about in the last game, you just deal more damage than they're ready for. And look at this, Rongyu's on the way, but so is Scream.
Zapman gonna roll away to try and get safety. Rongyu gonna zone for him. The boulder misses. The Eagles rally just a little off the mark, but not the bludgeon as Scream able to rotate over and get a nice kill to put Zapman down.
Needed to, because he was gonna start to run away with this lane if he was able to reset and just buy his full Ichaival, whereas Stewart still has not gotten that. And Zap hadn't backed yet, so he was being pretty greedy, sticking around for that amount of time. But big wave, Rongyu's gonna be able to hold at least a little bit of it and try and get Zap back and keep picking up those XP, and put himself ahead of Stewart once again.
Our quarterback on this RDO, I think it was banned away from him game 2 of their set against the Bolts, and had a strong performance on it game 1 and then game 3 when it somehow got let back through. So no surprise to see him go back to it when it wasn't banned from him like it was game 1 of this set. So Hardcore back onto the RDO, but it's kind of that tale. It's like, yeah, you did really good. You did well with RDO, but you kind of played RDO. Scream's kind of getting played here in the mid lanes. Wins a Shamash drop through. Panatom picks up a kill, and Baronic unable to save his jungler. Shinto in danger, has to use his purification beads. Panatom leaps in, drop kick against Baronic, and a dash in from the support. Rongyu gives a little bit of extra help to Shinto to let him stay alive, and manages to turn around and get a second kill.
Never has it been more of a protector's surge than in that moment for Rongyu. That heal and prots coming through absolutely massive, keeps Shinto up and alive, and keeps him in a great position to carry this game. Level 9, highest level in the game, has the Rod of Tahuti already. Difficult to handle a Tiamat when she's this far ahead. See the damage output he's putting out already, putting a lot of pressure on a Baronic in this lane. Doesn't take long for that Tiamat to start to swing.
Hardcore will get the experience for the blue buff and get the full credit for his wave. And Shinto, even though he lost on his purification beads, Rongyu with a nice save, keeps him alive and allows him to stay deathless so far coming through. I don't think he died at all during that last game either.
Nope.
So it still remains deathless up and towards the second game, and sitting at 1-0-2 on the Tiamat. Rod of Tahuti, a first item again for Shinto, getting that big power early on. Rongyu goes aggressive trying to take away the red buff, and looks like he may have been successful in doing so. He'll dash away with his life and make sure to keep Shinto at bay as well.
And that's just a frustration moment because Baronic's already so far behind of Shinto, and now he loses his red buff. Rongyu is going to go pick it up to add some insult to injury and continue to put some pressure onto Baronic and Stewart on these dives.
Scream looking to dive Shinto, and Solar Troll is there as well. The Ghastly Breath maybe just be a little bit too much damage, and the Boulder to seal the deal. Inbound gets credit for the kill, but they may lose Baronic in the process as Panatom rotates in. Drop kick, Scream against the wall. Double kill for Panatom.
Solar Troll in trouble. Here comes Zapman on the rotation, putting snipes towards Bobby. Doesn't quite get him, but Rongyu still got Blink.
Third one is ready for Panatom. He's trying to get those kills and will be successful in getting so. Triple kill for Panatom, now diving towards the tier 2 tower, but not going to be that greedy to go too far in. Instead, Hardcore will dash through, but it puts a trip on the board for Panatom.
Look, you get Shinto, great. You know, we set him behind, we're feeling good, we're taking down the Tiamat, and then, we lose 3 all to Panatom, who is now 6-0, by the way, in this game. Quietly, a 6-0-1 scoreline for the Gilgamesh after that last triple kill. And Baronic continues, even in these plays where they get the kill, he dies, and as a result, will not start to catch up.
SOT walks forward. Rongyu caught him, and Shinto is the one to take him down. Just greedy play by the solo laner, walking up so low in health, thinking, surely nobody's going to be here to punish me for this one. And well, there was Rongyu waiting around the corner, hits him with a nice fracture, stuns him, and then gets the knock up and set up for the kill for Shinto. But I wouldn't necessarily call Panatom 6-0 quiet. He has been aggressive on this map.
He's been all over the place. Duo lane, mid lane, solo lane where he got the first blood. He's put his hand in every single lane so far, which is the ideal performance from a jungler. I mean, I was so impressed with Panatom during the LAN set that they had up against the Bolts earlier on this week. If Panatom can keep on playing like this, the Leviathans might be front runners to win Phase 2 playoffs, because when they add that type of dynamic where Panatom is really just hard carrying in the early stages and then handing the ball off in the late game to Zapman and Shinto, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, Baronic gets caught, has his purification beads, but doesn't use them just yet. Gets slowed by Rongyu, and it's a little bit of time before Panatom is able to show up. Instead, he'll just drop kick the minion wave for some extra XP. But look at this level disparity we're already seeing in the mid lane. 3 levels ahead for Shinto.
And that's in 10 minutes. I mean, he's level 13 in 10 minutes into the game. That's crazy.
Stewart in danger, has the Dark Portal to save his life, and that's the only thing that's probably saving his life there, as Rongyu and Panatom were looking to be more than willing to dive that tower if necessary, but get stopped in their tracks.
That was a really nice ultimate there from Stewart to save his life. So at least you get something there that he doesn't have to expend too much, though I guess he did have to beat. So, okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. Never mind. It was rough for Stewart there, even though he lived with a nice play.
Scream going to stop this Greater Scorpion from being taken. Instead, he might look to take it himself and will be successful in doing so. Zapman a little late for the snipes to try and steal that one back away from what was stolen from them initially forward. Inbound and Scream running forward, trying to find Rongyu. Even SOT has rotated all the way to this side of the map yet again, and is met by Hardcore, who blinks in, gets a double stun on Scream and on SOT. He's going to get caught up in the midst, has to use his Stingent Torment to try and get away and try and save his life, but it's not going to be enough. Shinto picks him up.
And now Inbound is left in no man's land. He's going to fall. It's Hardcore who ends up getting that credit, and the Solar Scarabs just don't have an answer to this Leviathan's roster. The XP differential is just too much. Panatom ahead of Scream, and of course Shinto so far ahead of Baronic.
Leviathans say, hey, thanks for taking that Scorpion for us. We'll go ahead and grab the prize afterward. Gold Fury goes their way to further extend this already monumental lead they've built in just not even 12 minutes. Over 5,000 gold separating them, and the experience is looking fairly similar. 2 levels in the solo lane, 3 levels still with mid, and a level in jungle.
Rongyu already uses mobility, but jukes 3 out of 4 Taiko drum shots, and they could have all landed. He could have had 7 Taiko drum shots, and I don't think they ever kill Rongyu from that position. Just too far ahead on this space.
Panatom drop kicks to secure the red buff, taking that one away from the Solar Scarab. So another red buff invade goes the way of the Leviathans, but not to no avail. They do manage to strip away beads from Panatom. They get his ultimate as well. That'll slow him down for just a couple minutes.
Gotta kill him now. I mean, what a shutdown you would get if you did. 6-0 on this Gilgamesh right now. That is Baronic. If I'm Baronic, I'm like, yo, can we just chase this guy and kill him? If I get that kill, I'm back in this game, because that is really the level that Baronic is at right now. He's not that far behind of everyone else on his team, you know, or even everyone else on the Leviathans. He's a little bit behind from Hardcore and Panatom, and that's to be expected when you're 0-3. But Shinto's level 15 is mind-boggling this early on. It feels bad to have to compare Baronic's farm level to Shinto's and not just the rest of the squad.
Zapman catches Stewart on a ward, but he doesn't know that Inbound is waiting behind him. Blink through with the driving strike, but Zapman doesn't have his beads available to him and won't have time to get up in the ultimate. At this point, it's just a turn and run as fast as he can, but Stewart will catch him and get another kill.
Nice little play out of the dual lane there for the Scarabs. Finds the lone member that they can punish, but SOT getting punished on the opposite end of the map, but a good blink might have saved his life.
Rongyu's got a blink in return. Fracture is good to stun him in place, and Harkorda's here has an extra stun of his own. Throws out the cripple field to make sure he can't run too far. Shinto spins in the ground and stance ultimate, try and get some damage, but SOT is still living until Panatom rotates over and drops the winds. He managed to make it out. Eagles rally from Scream, and Baronic shuts down Panatom, who walked just too far.
Exactly what the doctor ordered for the Scarab. So now they kill Zapman. Baronic gets the shutdown on the Panatom. That is massive for the Scarabs. And look, they're still down 4,000 at 14 minutes. It's still a huge lead for the Leviathans, but they're starting to make it happen. They get what they need. That's the first 2 boxes checked in the comeback sheet here for the Scarabs. Just a matter of doing the next few things, which is making sure that the Leviathans don't get any major objectives, continuing to defend our jungle as best we can, but not dying for things like a purple buff or a red buff, really making sure that you're keeping stock of what counts, which are the Primal Fury, the Pyromancer, though lesser so, and the Fire Giant.
Doesn't also tick one of Zachman's boxes, you know, feeding the game and then come back to help your team win there. So, you know, yeah, you get a nice little check mark for the Scarabs, but even Zachman's keeping tallies on his little scoreboard for himself. Stewart backing in the lane, inbound, trying to look for a rotation here, has a ward for himself. Zachman doesn't spot him, instead he'll be the one to walk over the ward. Inbound going to try and bully him out, manages to strip away the heartbeat from Zapman, but Zapman will be fine as he rolled away from that knockout.
Right now the Leviathan's going to group up on this right-hand side. Just keep the pace of this game high. No reason to let the Scarabs just farm up like I was just talking about they needed to do. Keep the pressure on them and make sure that you're going to keep your eyes on those objectives. The Scarabs know they need to defend, but know that they likely can't if they're on time. Zapman once again ends up getting caught. Good ward coverage there from the Scarabs. Look at the sentries they've placed on the entrance, making sure that Zap won't have any sort of safety. And they're giving themselves a win condition, putting their eggs in the Stewart basket.
Looking to crash in the skies is Rongyu, cuts off the path away from Baronic, dashes in, gets the Taiko drums immediately. Panatom taking a lot of damage from it. Boulder from Bobby is going to be good for some damage, but not enough to save Baronic as he falls down. Panatom runs back to the winds, but gets caught by SOT's ultimate. And now maybe Shinto, the one in danger. Scream picks him up. It's just Rongyu and Hardcore here in the mid lane to defend against 4.
Oh, nice Blake pickup there from inbound to Hardcore. Tossed back into the teeth of the team, but I don't know if they have the damage to take him down.
He's got the cripple field to get away, and Rongyu will immediately dash over towards him to give him a little bit of extra sustain. Eagles rally, gets the beads instantly. The healing is good, but not quite good enough. Stewart has enough basic attack damage to drop him down. Now Rongyu is caught inside his own tier 1 tower, sitting at half health and just as unhealthy as the tower for himself, but Zapman rotates back over and gives Rongyu a target to go back.
Snipes need to land all 3 if he wants to kill, and he did hit all 3, but it still was not quite enough. Shout out to Tower Shield in the build there for Scream. That little bit of physical protection might have made the difference in keeping him alive. And all of a sudden, the Scarabs, you're starting to feel the winds change back towards their end a little bit. The Leviathan taking a couple uneven fights in the mid lane. Zapman has come back to lane and died twice in a row, which is a really good way to fall behind quickly. And that's exactly what started to happen. So now Stewart's starting to swing, starting to get his kills under his belt. He's got a little experience lead. Scream's been able to catch up and now surpass Panatom in farm. Baronic has closed that gap. Starting to look better here for the Scarabs. Still down 3,000, but every time I go still down X amount, that X is a little bit smaller.
It's getting a little bit smaller, closing that gap up a little bit, and Baronic's damage is certainly getting heftier as the game goes through. He may not be sitting super high on the charts, as we'll take a look at the player damage chart here in just a moment for it, but he's got his Warlock staff, he's nice and tanky, he's got the Soul Gem, gets a nice little bit of heal going through, and yeah, I mean, you see him sitting down there, that's a deceptive 5,700 because most of that's been coming off the back end of these fights, and he's been the primary target for the Leviathans in not just game 2 here, but also in game number 1. They put so much focus in keeping Baronic down from this Raijin. A Primal Fury start up on one side, and Leviathans, they'll respond instantly by going towards Fire Giant. Scream, the only one over here to try and spot this one out. He'll go through. Primal Fury is done, but how will the Fire Giant fight go? Scream gets caught out instantly, but Zapman got caught on the ring. SOT picks up the kill 4, gets 3 with Sinja Torment, throws him right into the clutches of Baronic, who's unable to find Rongyu, has to dash in aggressively to try and find it.
He will not. Solar Patrol still on the chase as well, but Rongyu's out, but Shinto has gone back in order to make it happen. Double kill for Panatom, but Shinto will fall.
Panatom leaps in, but he's not able to get Stewart. Instead, it's going to be Hardcore who picks him up, and now it's just SOT and inbound. It's only the tanks alive for both teams to try and box that against each other. Ooh. Double pluck, double wall, and double boulder, enough to take down Rongyu with one basic, and it's only going to be Hardcore left alive. SOT blocks him inside the tower and picks him up.
What a play from Yarkor, and inbound knows he doesn't have the damage from here. What a barn burner that was there, J-Mac. I mean, a great play from inbound. The double pickup push boulder combo was absolutely phenomenal. And the Scarabs get the better end of that trade by a significant margin because, remember, they got the Primal Fury in that play. They were able to get one objective and then still rotate down and around and get their hands dirty before Leviathans were able to steal that Fire Giant away from them. Really love that play from Scream. I mean, a great up-down from him on the Bologna, stunned 3. And as you highlighted, caught Zapman on the firewall. Zap didn't have his beads at the time. Aegis was up, but didn't Aegis the ultimate damage there coming from the Bologna. And when you don't Aegis that, and then all of a sudden you're stuck there for that amount of time, right on the firewall and a fire pool, he got burned from 60% to dead before he could have ever used his Aegis.
I'm curious how much damage that Fire Giant put in against him just in that one little interaction, but Scream with a great play with that Eagles rally, able to help turn that fight in their favor. Now it's only 2,000 gold that separate them. Eagles rally from Scream as he dunks it down towards the Fire Giant. It started up. Hardcore tries to steal it away with the Bear Claw, but unsuccessful. Solar Scarabs get the Fire Giant. They lose a couple of ultimates in the process for it.
Wow, all of a sudden it was 3-0 for Shinto, and he was on top of the world, up 3 levels, and now he's even with basically everyone else on the Scarabs, only a level lead over Baronic in particular. And it's the Scarabs with the Fire Giant down 2,000 gold, but Fire is worth more in stats than that. So you've got the Scarabs as the quote-unquote winning team right now. Ball's in their court. Matter of finishing it out now.
Inbound, the only one inside the jungle. The rest of his team over towards the blue buff, and looks like an ultimate expended from Rongyu, trying to close the gap here. SOT is going to try and stop Panatom and Rongyu from getting there, but they'll make it back in. Crashes down on Baronic, and he's stuck inside the cripple field. Can't get away from Hardcore, and the winds of Shamash will keep him locked inside. Panatom with a quick pick.
Man, tough set for Baronic so far. 1-6 now. Second game in a row on the Raijin, and neither game has really had that impact that we're used to seeing from him. His last few games for Baronic have actually been very good, despite the struggles for the Scarabs. His score lines have all looked very good. I think he's played really good Smite. This has been his first tough set in a little while, and I'm sure that doesn't make him feel a whole lot better, but it has not been the norm to have games like this.
Zapman backsteps the paralyzing spit, inbound caught inside the cripple field, gets a decent heal for himself, but not going to be enough to take him down. Zapman doesn't have ult, so he can't try and go for the snipes to take him out. Instead, the Leviathans will set their sights towards this right side tier 2 tower. They don't have the Fire Giant buff, so it's going to take them a little bit longer to do so, especially since Zapman's not hitting particularly hard.
Shinto jumps in after hitting Stewart with that long range damage, but not enough because Stewart still had his dash. Tier 2 taking a while, but it's not going to be too easy to defend it. Eventually it will fall.
SOT takes quite a bit of damage. Scream blinks in, trying to find Shinto, and Hardcore up, down, in place with the Eagles rally, but Shinto is undeterred. He'll fire right back at him, and Hardcore takes him down. Now looking for more as Baronic is forced to use the Taiko drums instantly. Hardcore is more than happy taking those up because the snaps from Zapman are there. Shinto gets the credit for the kill, and Stewart on the run, used the stealth, but Panatom catches him with the winds.
And a good stun coming from Rongyu finds Solo Troll. The chase is on for these frontliners. SOT, big ult, but knows he doesn't have the damage on backup in order to make them fall, and it's a double for Zap.
Inbound is the last one standing, but not for much longer as Panatom takes him down. A right side tower was taken in the process, and now may be the Phoenix, and very well into the game. Leviathans, it looked a little dicey there after that last little fight, but they punch back hard and take out the Scarabs 2-0.
Yeah, no wave, but I don't think it's going to matter too much because they've got healthy enough front line in order to make it happen, plus that Bracer of Radiance. That is a much closer 22, 23-minute game than we're used to seeing. Most of the time, those are a little bit more one-sided, and it was one-sided early. But the Scarabs continue to stick around, man. This team is so good at that. You know, if you start messing around a little bit, if you start making some crazy plays, Scarabs are really good at punishing you for it, and they did it in that game. I love the Fire Giant call. I think it's just a really good creative use of that Horus ultimate in order to cut off Baronic's escape. His beads were on a 6-second cooldown. He can't get out, and then all of a sudden that kills all the momentum there for the Scarabs.
Yeah, just not quite enough for the Scarabs. A good fight back in game number 2, but ultimately it does go the way of Leviathans. They pick up a nice 2-0 set for themselves. We're going to take it to a break. When we come back to desk, we'll finish breaking down this set.
cereal kids are crazy for. Cthulhu. Start your morning madness with a bowl of morning happiness.
Cthulhu sale is ongoing now. You will take part. Save up to 33% off gem bundles. You will take part.
Crazy crispity. Crazy crunchity. Crazy crunch.
Select chests up to 50% off. You will take part. Boosters, avatars, wards, and more up to 50% off. You will take part. Party up with up to 3 times favor. Worshippers and XP. You will take part. This is your duty.
Crazy Cthulhu-y. Cthulhu. Surgeon General's warning, Cthulhu's are not of this world and should not be ingested by children or adults of the age of 80. Gems are not included as a prize because Cthulhu's are not real. Reality is meaningless, time's a construct. They not all hope when you ingest Cthulhu's. Use as directed, part of balanced breakfast. For the crispity, crunchity, crazy crunch, get cuckoo with Cthulhu.
You will take part.
Of a balanced breakfast.
Can we take a commercial break?
Hello, SMITE fans, and welcome back to the SMITE Pro League. We've had a very fun set so far to kick things off today in week number 8. But more importantly, we have to go one step further. We've got to dive deeper here, Chad. And as you guys saw, Cthulhu's, while they might not be available for your direct consumption, that doesn't mean that the benefits of this gem sale could not be yours for the taking. Until September 6th, it's going to be your time to strike for up to 33% off on some of those gem bundles. But more importantly still, if you really want to be able to flex some of your support for the Pro League teams and some of your favorite players, then you can also utilize some of those gems to purchase their in-game wards, avatars, and I don't know, maybe we see some skins in the future. Hard to say just yet, but Mifflin, as far as the Leviathans versus Solar Scarabs are concerned, Leviathans taking this one home in 2-0 fashion, and I don't think Benita Miyarkor could have had any more fun with it.
Yeah, it was a convincing win, but certainly a little bit more fight back from the Scarabs. I thought that it was just The Scarabs had like a very good initiation composition, as it was a lot of frontline, so if they were able to start the fight on their own footing, they kind of popped off, and if they didn't, well, Leviathans kind of popped off.
Yeah, there was definitely some early responses from Scream in that duo lane. The Bologna jungle found an early pick, but it just didn't seem as though there was a whole lot of fluidity behind these Solar Scarabs compositions. I think they just had a really tough time trying to transition the picks that were taking place in the laning phases into something a little bit more fruitful surrounding those objective plays. And again, the Leviathans, they pretty much got to do, I don't want to say whatever they wanted, because we definitely saw moments of response like you mentioned, Mifflin, but beneath them definitely had a fantastic set today.
He really did, man. And Gilgamesh Jungle has been popping off just for a lot of these teams recently. Captain Twig recently has a very good performance with this pick. Panatom gets involved very early on in this game and stays involved for the entirety of the game afterward as well. It just feels like that this is a god right now that a lot of these junglers are really starting to find works out in Season 8, especially considering how that first ability works for Gilgamesh, just a little bit of additional HP. You're dealing more damage. Generally, we're starting to see that Bruiser build kind of be the focus for some of these junglers as well, so it makes sense to me. This guy you're seeing on screen right now, though, Yarkor, is one that I wanted to talk about because this RDO solo looks really strong. He's able to tank up towers in the early, utilize that healing to make sure these dives are working out, and the initiation was kind of nuts, too.
And do you think that we could maybe expect to start seeing a little bit more of that RDO solo or just RDO in general rise to the top here? Ever since her buff, it seems as though a lot of people are definitely preferring her right now.
Yeah, I know Aurora's liking this pick a lot. I think Yarkor very likely to keep playing it as well. I'm not sure that we're going to see a ton of people trying to adapt it. It is kind of a unique playstyle. Maybe Neilma goes back towards it because I know he's had a lot of success on that in the past. But as far as the entire league is concerned, I don't think so. I think it's more of a flavor pick.
But this is definitely a strong look still for the Leviathans. I mean, this is your closing set before you take off into the Split 2 playoffs that are going to be later on this next week. But as for here today, Mifflin, this is exactly where the Leviathans wanted to kind of close things out. It just says so much when you're able to get that 2-0 victory. And even for the standings, it's largely that the 2-0 victory was for the Atlantis Leviathans to really make sure that they can solidify that third place.
Yeah, I think the Leviathans are solidified now. There's no one that can really challenge them for third. They don't really have much leeway to move around either, and well, the Solar Scarabs are kind of locked where they were at as well coming into this set. So as it stands right now, I think it's really pretty clear how the stand is going to pan out going into playoffs.
But it's so much fun because, like, we see the playoffs, at least as far as the seeding is concerned, for the standings really beginning to take place. But as far as the actual playoff period is going to be concerned, I definitely think that there is a lot more on the horizon here between a lot of these top-end teams. And we've even got Yarkor to pick his brain on the matter because he'll be joining us for the post-game interview. Yarkor, first things first, how much are you liking the RDO solo right now?
I think she's really good. That is all I'm going to say. I think she's a really good pick. It's not as fun as other Guardians or Warriors, but she's really good. And if you're good, you're going to play it. So
can't be revealing too much just yet. That's fair enough. But also, Yarkor, I wanted to ask you, as far as Zapman, you guys have now had, I don't want to call it a trial period, but you've definitely had that adjustment period with Zap, and having him now knowing that you guys have a little bit of more synergy established going into the playoffs, what are some of your expectations surrounding that?
We're going to try to have a better performance. That's what all I really want to do. I mean, I think all as a team we have to, because we have been in struggle when it comes to tournament time a lot. So right now into the playoff, we just wanted to perform better and try to make it to the finals.
And do you think that Zapman is going to be that last kind of piece of the puzzle so we can start to see some of these Leviathan success stories really build up?
Yeah, he has been helping us a lot in a few things that we struggle. And with time, we're helping him too a lot. So I think we are just growing together and think we're going to try and see what happens.
Well, excited to see what you guys have in store for us next during the Split 2 playoffs. For now, go ahead and enjoy your 2-0 victory with the rest of the squad. And thank you so much for joining us for this post-game interview, Yarkor. But, Mifflin, you heard it here first. Yarkor definitely feeling strong moving forward. And, well, as far as the Leviathans are concerned, their Split 2 will just have to continue whenever the playoffs take place. But as for right now, and the rest of you guys have to remember, we do still have one more set coming up here today. We're going to have the Titans facing off against those Dragons, and again, a match you're not going to want to miss out. So grab some snacks, make sure to stay tuned, and be right back, because we'll be right back with some more Smite Pro League action.